First of all, thank you so much for eMerge. Thank you, Mark, for allowing us to come here and share a little bit of our vision with you guys. I have two of maybe the greater entrepreneurs that we have in Brazil right now. Two very different stories. Two stories that are going to share some great insights with you guys. We put together a little presentation that really 10 slides that are going to share a few insights, and we're gonna talk about them. So I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves, and then I'll follow.
Okay, so thank you for you guys for inviting us here. So my name is Thales Gomes. I'm from Brazil. I'm 28. I'm started as an entrepreneur at my 14 years old. So since then I failed in a couple companies, and then I kind of made it in Easy Taxi, and we expanded Easy Taxi through 35 countries in 4 continents, and actually we created a base of more than 600,000 taxi drivers with more than 20 million customers around the world. And right now I'm running another company called Singu, from Singular, which is basically a marketplace for beauty and wellness service, and we are doing pretty good trying to help the mobile world growing.
So my name is Eduardo. I'm founder of Get Ninjas. Get Ninjas is a service marketplace to connect clients and pros and a range of services, from painters, plumbers, private teachers, DJs. You can think in services, you have it in Get Ninjas. We have professionals in more than 3,000 cities in Brazil, and we generate millions of reais for them every month. We started 5 years ago in a desktop application, and now we migrate everything for mobile, and the business is growing much faster.
Awesome. And I run the Mobile Marketing Association in Latin America. The idea was to really bring a little bit of our entrepreneur drive to an association and change into a large community of leaders of the mobile industry in Latam. So I want to start provoking the both of you with this call by Benedict Evans. I saw his presentation and his charts last year, and I think it's well known that mobile is eating the world, but I wanted to get your perspective on this call.
Of course, Fabian. Well, definitely mobile is eating the world. I mean, when we started Easy Taxi in 2011, back in 2011, I remember that around 4% of the Brazilian population had access to smartphones with internet. Almost no one. We're talking about 8 million people out of 200 million persons living in the country. So I remember that I had to explain to the taxi drivers what internet was at that time. Like we said to them that they had to buy these smartphones, and then they had to contract a plan of internet. And they say, internet is that thing that my girl uses at home. I mean, they didn't knew about it. When you talk about Easy Taxi with our friends, they kind of asking, but man, I almost know anyone who has smartphones with internet. How do you gonna implement this market in Brazil right now if people doesn't have smartphones? But this market is growing so fast. And today at Singu, for example, or manicures and or massagists and or makeup artists, all of them, they have smartphones, they use WhatsApp, and they have internet. So our job is much more easier right now. And we are talking about the 5 years of difference. So the world is completely different. The mobile market in Brazil worth more than $500 billion today. And in 2014, the numbers of mobile users surpass the numbers of desktop users when you're talking about the internet. So there is more people use internet through mobile than people use internet through a desktop. So definitely mobile is eating the world.
And it changed everything, because 2011, 2010, as Thales said, just 4% of Brazil population is using a smartphone, but at that time the carriers in Brazil are really bad. It's still bad today. But at that time, the internet connection was really slow. So people are using, but inside, using Wi-Fi. Now people are using outside, because the 3G is not good, but you can use it. It's really different from America. And 5 years ago, just the geeks are using smartphones in Brazil, because it's much more expensive than compared to the United States. A mobile phone is 2-3 times more expensive, and we make much less money. So if you do the math, it was are really expensive stuff to buy. So those last years, that's changed a lot. So people start buying mobile phones for work. In Get Ninjas, we have many painters, plumbers, they bought a smartphone to work on Get Ninjas, and now they're making money of it. The same with the taxi driver as well. So people are seeing that this mobile device is not just for fun, not just for taxing, but to work. And then they improve their business, they improve their lives.
Something very interesting, we did a research last year in Brazil that showed that out of the C class in Brazil, 40% already had smartphones. And we are not talking about iPhones, we're talking about Androids, we're talking about entry-level smartphones. And this is something very interesting because both of your companies deal with people that access the internet maybe only through a mobile device and maybe only to get to resolve a problem or to get something done, right? So at the end of the day, we see mobile as an engine of mobility in our age, because it facilitates, it makes it easier, it resolves a problem, right? So I wanted your insight, Thales and Edu. How do you see mobile as an engine of mobility?
Well, definitely without mobile, we have nothing to do in the startup community today because, both of us, we work with service, right? We are service providers. We are marketplace lovers. And you cannot implement a marketplace today, in any place in the world, and I can say this with property because I have personally started the operations of Easy Taxi in 35 countries, in 4 different continents. And I saw that without mobile, you cannot build a digital business today to provide service. So it's definitely the engine of mobility because let's imagine in the singles case, right, or manicure. Those girls are, walking around the city, going to people's home to make their nails. And the only tool that allows them to accept the another service is the mobile. So it's definitely, they need that to have the mobility to work and to do not be stuck at saloons. The saloon market in Brazil, it's like a slavery because they take 70% out of their wage. It's a lot of money to take from these professionals, and we don't think that's fair. This is why we only take 30% to implement this market because it's more fair for them, and it's a good money for us as well, though. We have 30% take hate. Which marketplace has a so high marketplace, take hate like that? So it's more than okay, and it allows them to make 2 or 3 times more money than they could make in a saloon, for example. So it's definitely an engine for mobility, and it's something that helps people achieve their dreams as well through their work.
Yeah, and most of us here, I think, is white-collar workers, so we use a desktop computer every day. But for our providers, they don't use it. They have a computer, yes, but they share this computer with his daughter, his wife. He would just use the computer during the night. So it's the first time in history that almost everyone has a computer device in their pocket, that almost everyone can be connected every time. And they can, of course, work, but they can talk to their friends, they can play games during traffic. And in Brazil, people spend 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours in traffic. With mobile, those guys can study, can learn a new language. So that's not just for service, of course, that's what you do, but we think that mobile can really improve and is improving these people's life, especially in an emerging country like Brazil and other Latin American countries.
Excellent. So this is the first takeaway. We actually picked 5 to 6 takeaways that we would like to share with you guys. So mobile is an engine of mobility in our age, and basically because it's an enabler for growth, right? It's an enabler for growth to everybody that uses the platforms that you guys have developed, right? So there is something interesting about mobile as well. On mobile, we are all curators, right? We all Instagram, Snapchat, and so on and so forth. So how do you see this relationship between the user and the platform through mobile as being a curator?
Well, if you look at the social platform right now, Facebook was so cool 3 years ago. Everyone loves Facebook. Today, my brother, who has 12 years old, when I talk to him about Facebook, he say, man, this is so old. I mean, I'm an old guy for him because I use Facebook. Come on, things are moving so fucking fast. I mean, if you see at Ray Kurzweil, for example, I'm a big fan of this guy. He's gonna talk tomorrow for you guys, and he's gonna explain you how things are moving so fast. We're growing exponentially, and things are changing exponentially as well. So if you look for the specific mark of social networks, then we came with Instagram, which was so cool, I mean, 2 years ago, last year. But this year is the year of Snapchat. I mean, when I talk about Instagram with kids of 9 years old, 10 years old, and I have the opportunity to talk with these guys, with my nephew, he said to me, you know, Thales, Snapchat is so cool, but I'm not too on Instagram. So things are moving so fast. And why? Because people want to be curator. So people want to create their own content. They want to show their lives, but they want to do it fast and they want to do it easily. And I mean, we can use mobile to make it easier to people, provide more information and contribute with markets. And that is one data that I learned from Ray Kurzweil, for example. And he told in one of his lectures that people are trying to decodify the DNA through mobile right now. That's insanely crazy things that those guys studying in Singular University, but they are using a hardware to connect to mobile, and then you can try to acquire the DNA data and and curate this and send this data out in a system and try to to use this to solve people's problems, like try to solve the problem of cancer and another major problems that the humanity cannot solve right now through the mobile, by basically sending information through the mobile. So being a curator, so definitely it's a tendence right now. It's a trend.
Edu, your take on it?
Yeah, I still love Facebook. I think I'm old, and I think with this chatbot thing, they're going to build a huge business. We're going to talk about this later. And it's the same, Charlie. I have a young brother. He started using Snapchat before me. I confess that it took some time to understand why people are using this. Well, you delete the photo, why take a picture, first of all? But then I started using and saw that's a really great social media. And yeah, people want to be creative. People want to be part of the media itself. So it's the first time in history that we have everyone connected, take pictures, share their lives with one another, bring to be close to each other. Some people say that mobile, smartphone, and so on make people apart because they testing and they don't talk in person. But I think they actually make people be closer because I'm talking much more with my family, my father, especially now that he uses WhatsApp, Facebook message than 5 years ago that I had to call, and I had to call just one time a day during the night or at least one time a week because it was really expensive to call because my father lived in another city. So I think those social networks make people closer, and that's really great.
Great. The next point here that we picked is mobile as a lean-forward experience, something a little bit more immersive, right? But you gotta use the right tools. You don't use the right tools, you're dead in mobile.
Definitely. I mean, I remember when we started in South Korea, so I moved to Seoul, and I lived there for some time, to try to hustle the marketing and understand how could we grow through South Korea. And I remember that it was so hard, and I couldn't understand why, because 80% of the adult population in Korea, they have smartphones and they have a high-speed internet that you guys don't have here in America. So it's crazy though. It's like you enter in a future when you are in Seoul. Those guys are really good on technology. They have a really fast internet. Almost everyone is educated. If I'm not wrong, 70% of the adult population has a university degree. So I wasn't understand why couldn't we grow in South Korea, because I bet so high when we started that, and I told to my board that definitely South Korea would be our first market in a couple of months, but that not happened. I mean, Peru was way bigger than South Korea and made no sense because at that time the Peruvian population almost had no smartphones. We're talking about 10%, 15% of the Peruvian population with smartphones in the time that we started South Korea in Easy Taxi. And we understood that we had to do this immersion in the country's culture to understand how to deliver a better experience for our users. And when we did this lean forward experience, like testing new things and understand how to use the right tool with them, we understood that South Koreans really doesn't need Easy Taxi or Uber or something like this. I don't know if you guys know, but Uber is forbidding there. I think it's stupid, but it's forbidding there. But why? Because the population don't need us. And why they don't need us? Because just so has 80,000 taxi drivers. 80,000 taxi drivers. Brazil as a whole, a huge country with over 200 million persons in the population, has just 120,000. Just that. So there is a lot of taxis. So you have no problem to fight taxis anytime, anywhere. And every taxi drivers, they have a tool and a hardware inside their taxi that you can pay through NFC. I mean, you approach your cell phone and it already charges you if you register your cell phone and in your smartphone. So we understood that, the main pain that we were trying to solve wasn't a pain for that. So what we did, we create a feature in the application that basically allow you to tell us that you forgot something in the taxi, and we guarantee with insurance that you're gonna get this thing back to you in 3 hours, in less than 3 hours. When we made this, we started to grow a lot in the country because now we solved the problem because understood that this is a problem. People can still forgetting things in the taxis, and we did this to solve this problem and start to grow. So this was my experience leaning forward some market.
And I think you have to see the future of the market, but as well, but you have to really work on technology itself. In Getting Ninjas, we use metrics for everything. We A/B test everything. A/B test is a way that you show two versions on the app on a page, one for 50% of the population, another for 50%, and you see which ones perform better, and you choose the one, and you keep testing these over and over. And you use Snowplow, that's open source analytics tools, Tableau, and getting these metrics is really, really important because a mobile device is not just a desktop in a small size. People when we started 5 years ago, we made this mistake. Say, okay, just get the desktop version of the site and get a small version, that's it. But it's different. People are using on the way, people are using on the traffic, people are using the street. There is sunlight. When you develop something in your office, it's clear, it look nice. Yeah. But when you go outside, you have sunlight, you have bad light, it's really different to use. So every time that we develop a new part of the app, we go outside the office and we try to use outside the office as people are going to use the app. So mobile is really, really important. And the computer power of the mobile is really different from desktop. The 3G connection is much slower than a desktop connection in a Wi-Fi. So you have to make your app really, really fast because people have one screen at the time, and if your app is not fast, they're going to another app. So it's really, really important to, of course, think about the future details of the country that you're going for, but really, really important to think about the technology.
Excellent to do. So at the end of the day, mobile is a catalyst, right, to establish long-term relationship with our consumers. And we've been preaching that in Latin America for a long, long, long time. But what does it really mean to have a long-term relationship with your consumer?
Well, the internet penetration in mobile is growing so fast in Brazil. I mean, we grew like 60% a year in the last 3 years, and we're still growing. I really think that mobile is eating not just the world, but Brazil as well, because we can, we're feeling that, we're living that right now through Singu. But I'm gonna give you an example in Singu, which is we have a high risk of disintermediation, right? Because you can call a manicure at your home and you love her, and you're gonna want her back again. So it's really hard, and we had to think this through to how can we not lose this customer for the service provider that I'm sending to them. And we worked so hard to solve this problem, and we did it. apparently, when you look at our data, because our customers are coming back. And why they are coming back is basically because of our program of CRM. So we remember these users, every 15 days that they should call a manicure. And if they do a massage, and they call the massages every 15 days, we remember them again. We're always in touch with them, but most of all, we give them wow experience every time that he uses. I'm partners of great, beauty brands in the world, like Stella Lauder. We made a partner with them in March during the month of Women's, and Stella Lauder gave my customers a 70% discount in the makeup. So you had your AAA makeup artist attend you at your home or office just for $25 using Stella Lauder products, which is so expensive. So this is a wow experience that I give to those guys, and make them to try to come back to us to discover what is the new wow experience that are gonna get calling Singu. And another problem that we solve is we never charge cash, so we charge credit cards, and those service providers will never have credit cards because it's so hard to have this in Latin America, especially in Brazil. Our bank carry system, it's a doomed system, so it's really hard to get credit cards if you're not a company. So we solve these problems, and solving those problems, we establish this long-term relationship with a customer that help us grow, like doubling every month as we're doing in the last 3 months.
In Get Ninjas, we are different. We don't care if you hire a plumber in Get Ninjas and you want to hire the plumber again. You can hire this plumber outside the platform. But we do care that if you hire a plumber in Get Ninjas, your private teacher, your piano private teacher, your DJ, your barbecue man is going to hire in Get Ninjas. So we using the app or mobile site, people tend to hire 5 times more in frequency than people that start to use Get Ninjas on desktop, because it's much easier to just use the app again than go to Google and search and find another service provider, another platform. So for us, when we launched the app, we saw this exponential growth as users came back. And for the professionals, it was amazing, because 5 years ago, we used to send SMS to the professionals saying that, oh, you got a new lead, connect to the platform and get the client details and get in touch. But SMS is not great. It's just 106 characters, and it's not a great way to make a two-way communication. But the app, those providers, they use the app every day, 3 times, 5 times a day, to see new leads and to get in contact with the clients. So we build a better community for the pros and the clients when you launch our first app. And that was what made us grew much more than we grew in the first few years.
Excellent. So we're getting to our last slide here, and the idea was to ask the audience if they want to ask any questions. But mobile is about these 4 items. A lot of other items as well, but I think these are the 4 most important ones, about the transparency, the intimacy, the one-to-one that everybody talks about all the time. The number 3 is about removing the friction, in other words, resolving a problem. You guys resolved problems in both startups. And the other one is context, So this is a very funny picture. And I wanted to ask, how many people here take the cell phone to the restroom? Be truthful about it. Come on, come on. Yeah, well, a lot of liars here in this room. Well, context is something really, really important. The geolocation is one of the most powerful, things that you can use natively. So, any of you guys have any questions for Thales or Eduardo? Yes, question? I think we have a microphone somewhere.
Can we have a microphone here?
Oh, right there.
Okay.
Do you want to get my microphone here?
Hi, my name is Faith. Thanks so much for coming. I actually didn't understand the answer to the question about people who don't have bank accounts, because I know in Brazil there's a lot of difference between incomes and there's a lot of poverty. How do people pay when they don't have a bank account or a credit card?
It's really different from US. Most of our providers, they don't have credit cards. They pay us using invoice. The name is boleto. It's a mess because you pay and just 4 days later you know that the guy paid, and then you have to send a boleto every time. Actually, we send a letter to our providers every month with their boletos, so they pay to us. And our clients pay our providers direct in cash. We're talking about painters, plumbers, 1,000 reais, like $300 per service. So it's easier for them to pay in cash or bank transfer than use a credit card because the tax in Brazil, the fees in Brazil are much expensive. A credit card fee in Brazil, on the internet, is around 5%, and when you use the device in person, in real life, is around 2.5–3%. So it's much more expensive than US, 2–3 times more expensive. So for us, makes more sense. For the client, makes more sense. Transfer, paying cash, this kind of service that's more expensive than credit card.
Yeah, in my case, actually we are going to another way. So today, it's less than a half of the Brazilian population is bancarized. So there's a lot of people who has not, doesn't have credit cards. So my professionals, they are C class, D class, and I'm now doing a project that's helping those girls to start to bankarize themselves. So we help them to create what we call CNPJ in Brazil, which is kind of registering to you to provide service. And you kind of build your own company, but you are the company. And we have these, which charge much less to those persons, at around 8%, against 27% of which is what a regular company pays in Brazil. And we are helping those girls to create these and to have them first credit card and to have them the banking account. And we are also providing money to them, which allow a manicure, for example, who comes to my office and told me, Thales, basically, you know that we are facing a huge financial crisis in Brazil. It's more political crisis, but of course it mirrors the financial crisis as well. And she told me that her husband lost his job, and she was the one, providing for the family. And thanks for single, she could increase 3 times her wage, and now, she doesn't have to stop to eat. So this is really good what we are doing. We help them to bankarize. We are improving the numbers of credit cards in Brazil, as we did with Easy Taxi, when we provide everyone a credit card machine through the smartphone. And we are now doing this in the manicure market, in the messages market as well. And so we are solving this problem differently.
So we have 2 minutes left here. Any more questions? One question there. You want to come here? Come here. Use mine.
Thank you. This is a question for Easy Taxi.
Yeah.
Quite recently, my sister traveled to a Latin American country with her boyfriend, and unfortunately, she was robbed during the taxi intersection, whatnot. Now, how do you handle those cases of crime? Do you provide insurance? When we talk about mobility, how do you know that in the taxi that you're riding, it's going to be safe?
Yes, this is a very good question, because in Easy Taxi, we background check the taxi drivers. We do criminal records to understand that he's a person that should be in your base. And we know where he lives, so we know his bank account, we know all the data from him. So we never had this case in our millions of rides that we have every week in the world. I mean, in 35 countries. We never had this case because they know that we know them, and we can just call the police and say, hey, this guy lives there, so go there, put him in the jail. So we never had this problem here, because we take care of our customers. So we register them, and we know all the information about them.
Well, time's up. Any final goodbyes here?
I do have. Guys, As you guys know, we are facing a huge financial and political crisis in Brazil, and I want to let you know that PT, which is the left party in Brazil, is destroying our economy. And today, we are trying to rip this cancer off with the impeachment. So I need you guys' support. The Brazilians need you guys' support. The Brazilian family who is not able to provide for their families right now because the inflation is so high, need the world's support, because we need to rip this cancer off, this Dilma and Lula off. They are destroying your country, so I have a message to them. Tchau, querida.
Thank you, Thales. Thank you, guys. We're done here. Thank you.